my name's Dan Dave Harris. I run Let's Talk Sports, which is a sports community.
Hey, it's Kellen, and today on Diversified Game, I have Dan Dave Harris. I think you're the first Dan Dave Harris I've ever met. And he's going to give us the game about the Let's Talk Sports community. He had reached out to me. He must have saw one of the interviews that I had did with an athlete, and he thought I was an athlete. I don't know. Maybe he saw a picture, right? And I made 200 pounds look healthy. But Dan, I did his podcast, and I wanted to really get his story for Diversified Game. So welcome to the show, Dan. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, and I hope you are as well today.
Oh yes, and that accent that you guys hear, yes, I have to give the warning, Dan, because my oldest, her name is London. I have a London and a Sydney.com. That's their website. And she's like, every time you're talking to someone from the UK, why do you start talking? I say, because I like a chippy and a black cab every now and then. And so it takes me back to a simpler time. So you forgive me if I start sounding a little British, but give us the game on what Let's Talk Sports is all about.
Really the main thing is I learned it as I went. Sports is quite an important thing to me because I'm through various disabilities, I'm completely housebound, have been, because of I've got cerebral palsy and a bone disorder. Essentially, my bones are very brittle, so I've got very little movement in my joints. So sports is the one thing you can do when you're in the house all the time, so monitor. So I had an itch to do podcasting for a while, but through lack of confidence, it took me a while to get the courage up. But during the pandemic, there was no sports, so I guess that was what pushed me into it. So I sort of set up what I guess you'd call it a podcast, but it was very not advanced when I started. It was literally just news of the day, and over time it sort of got I learned a bit more, and it became a channel and a podcast. And now we've got a community, mainly on Facebook. Different podcasters are in it, and what we try to do is grow each other's content. Some of my co-hosts have their own networks, but they guested and decided to stick around. And we like to think of Let's Talk Sports as a safe haven away from some of the more toxic side of social media, and everyone just having fun. But we can have a difference of opinion, but sort of respect one another's opinions, because it'd be a boring life if we all thought the same. But just because, say, I like a quarterback and you don't, I don't really see the need to sort of attack your viewpoint, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense. And I love that during the pandemic, you took something that you loved and said, let me, build a community. How fast did that community grow?
Slowly, really. It was literally just me at first, and then as I got my confidence up a little bit, I decided to do interviews just for something a bit different, and most of it was really just message. Most of them were just like fans of certain teams and say, would you like to come on? And every once in a while, I will get maybe an ex-professional sportsman and things like that. I honestly didn't know what I was doing, and so it was a very slow thing, and I'm very grateful. Like some of my guests said, actually kind of like that. Would you be interested in doing something a bit more regular? And some of them are literally just fans like myself, and some of them are like, for example, one of my co-hosts for my Premiership Social European Soccer to the American viewers, played football in the Premier League and the Championship. So what I always say is I like different voices. So it's nice to have an ex-professional, and it's nice to have what I call the fan voices, because both of those opinions are just as valid, but it's not someone what's played the game can appreciate from a different level, but it's nice to have fans. It's always the strength of any sport, in my opinion.
And talk about, the confidence and the courage, being housebound. Have you been able to, coming through the years growing up, were you able to go to the games, the football games in America? They call them soccer, but you guys get it, or rugby games. Were you able to enjoy at all doing that?
Basically, up until I could with like a wheelchair or something, in my late teenage years, but then as my health deteriorated, that's not something I could do, which to be honest, I do miss it. It's obviously not the same when you're watching it on TV, but you make when you grow up with disabilities, you have to roll with the punches. So I've learned to adapt, and to be honest with you, I'm enjoying what I'm doing, like talking about sports, and I guess it's not the same when you watch it on TV, but there's still value in that, and it's also nice doing what I'm doing now, talking, having my own sort of network, if you will, talking with different fans, and strangely enough, the biggest part of our community, even though I'm based in the UK, 95% of it is Americans. For some reason, they've just really connected with what I'm doing. And I always say I don't really mind what country you're from, as long as everyone's respectful. We welcome everyone.
Definitely. It's nice to be able to talk about something and not have the politics. We see what's happening on in Ukraine and Russia, and it's just like, if we can talk about the sports. But where do you think that athletes should, speak up? Because I mean, Russia has so many sanctions and things on them right now, and they're not invited to some sports events. Do you find it to be the athlete's place to talk about these things, or would you rather have sports and have no politics?
Um, to be honest with you, I feel like you can't keep politics out of sport, and to anyone maybe says that, I understand sport is a safe haven to people, but politics is in every walk of life, even in the workplace. Say you work in an office, there's politics involved. So to me, sports are human beings. And I said this, it's a different situation with Russia than the Black Lives Matter movement, but I always said, um, I want the sportsmen and women to talk about, and I feel the same in this case, because they are humans like us. So whether they agree with something or disagree with something, I want to hear what they feel, because the reality is the average day person will probably listen to sportsmen and women far more than they will, say, politicians. So it's important that they sort of step up and send that message, in my opinion.
And I know it was a few years back, Nike had signed the first athlete with CP. For the research and everything that's going in, did that, was that a time where you could be like, wow, okay, finally, they're understanding that, okay, we're human, and some of us also can participate. Are you familiar? The guy's name was Justin, started with the G, Gallegos, but I might mess that up. Are you familiar with that athlete and with Nike?
Yeah, I remember the story, and I do. I've been a big advocate of disability sports because you've got to give people the avenue what has it. They're human beings as well, and I respect Nike for making that move. I do. It's hard for people with disabilities to follow sports because I, from time to time, like the odd people would comment saying, "Well, if you can't do a sport, why are you talking? Why should we listen to you talking about it?" But I don't think just because you can't do something don't mean you don't have a right to talk about. I maybe can't speak about what it's like to say hit a home run because I haven't had that value, but I can watch it as much as anyone else. That's just how I feel about it.
Yeah, I mean, and are there any announcers that because I know there's actors with CP, but the big thing for here in America, which we all got caught up with when the women started being the announcers for things like football, things we know they couldn't play. But if women can, do it, are there any announcers that you have seen that have been given a chance to give their opinion, and get a job at somewhere significant where they can talk about the same thing the women who may not play American football play? Have you seen any strides in that?
I can't recall anything. It's interesting. I haven't thought about it too much now you mention it, but I certainly can't recall anything. I could be wrong in that, but there doesn't seem to be any cases what I can think of, which is surprising with this trying to give people opportunities from all walks of life. I'm surprised it doesn't get talked about more, but I can't recall any cases.
Okay, well maybe that's something we work on. Hey, you want the job, and say where. I'll send the email and do the pitches because it's if folks can act with it, and somebody could make an excuse and say, oh well, it's because of this. The game is so fast paced. Well, we'll pick a slow game then. Or a slower game. Don't give me excuses. Tell me how we can make it fair because people with disabilities, it's a struggle, and no one wants you to feel sorry for them, but there should be accommodations, and people should be given a chance like anybody else. Is that's my take on it. So you let me know if you see a place and you see an opportunity, and we say why not, or if you know somebody, because I think that would be another stride. Now, besides you dealing with your medical condition that you've had probably your whole life, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
You have pushed through. I need for the folks who are, sitting on their mother's couch. Um, they don't want to work, right? They could work. Could you tell them some motivational things because you have all the reasons to say, you know what, I don't have to do anything. I can, I don't have to do anything if I don't want to. And then you have people who could do something. You don't see them take advantage, or you see kids taking their life, right? Because somebody dumped them. Can you give any type of encouraging word and things that have helped you get over those hurdles? Because at the end of the day, all it is you've learned how to get over hurdles, and they haven't had those coping skills.
Well, how I feel about it, if you can do something, do it. Take it from someone like myself. And when my conditions flare up, there are days I literally can't even walk to the toilet for want and a better word. So, and that is embarrassing. So for anyone who can do something, say, why not just step out of the house and do something? If things are hard, step out of your house and find whatever you want to do to make it better. Because trust me, from someone what can't go out in the outside world, and you hear everyone having these experiences, you do miss it. So I don't know if that strikes a chord with people, but that's sort of the words I would use.
Now, do you have any plans on writing a book talking about your experiences? Or, I had a client last year, he even talked his book and then they just transcribed it all together. But any plans on that or any speaking engagements?
Nothing really like that. I guess what I like to think of my podcasts and shows, I'm quite open with some of my difficulties, and I guess they are my books. We do stick to sports, but like obviously I openly talk about my problems, and I guess they are my every week. That's another chapter in my novel, I guess, because we do a daily show and weekly shows, and we're quite engaging with the community. Community is a big thing for what we do there. So I guess that's my speaking engagement, if you will.
Okay, okay. Hey, it takes all forms. What would you say, and this is my signature question. So, what would you say is a community give back that you are doing, and you've talked about it all through this interview, or a community give back that you would like to do in the future?
I don't know. What we try to do is anyone what comes on our platform, we try to give their voice. A big thing is anyone that comes on, we'd like to give their thing a shout out, grow their brand or whatever they're doing. And other than that, one thing we try and do is give every set of life a voice. A lot of the people on my network are young, but I've got, for example, co-host what is in his 70s. It's very important for that that we have all people from walks of life to have a voice, because I think you can get different aspects in your community by just hearing different voices.
Definitely, different voices, and that's why a voice like yours is so important. In that, you put a very positive, aura out there. In the UK, you have the hooligans, you have the rugby. What is your opinion on American football coming to Europe and actually being like popular? They flirted with this idea for years. I'm just curious how you feel about that.
Um, I like it, to be honest with you. I know there has been some rumors of a franchise maybe coming over here permanently. I don't know how you'd necessarily do that, because what franchise would necessarily want to relocate? But I'd like that there's different team franchises come over, and one of the benefits is you have all sorts of different teams supported, because there is no franchise based over here. You have a mixture of, say, Chargers, Chiefs, Jets fans, all sorts, and it's just very different because there's only one or two a year. It's a big occasion as well.
Yeah, I wonder how that would be, because let's say you have your team there, and if they win, it's we call them the Kings, right? Just Kings and Queens, call them the Kings. It's oh, they're winning because anyone who comes over there is tired after flying, and if they lose, it's vice versa. Even though they will probably fly, first class or chartered jet. Are you seeing more and more fans of American football? Because I'll tell you, my wife is a big Cameroonian fan, and she's from Cameroon, and she's like, I don't get American football. After 20 years, I just don't understand. It's not a, it's not a tough sport. They're breaking every 2 minutes. So are you finding more folks in the UK are like, oh yeah, we're fans and we like this, like they like Manchester?
Yeah, they are actually. You get more and more. One of my co-hosts to one of my morning shows is actually a big 49ers fan, and they have their own UK 49ers group. They have their own. They had an event at a bar in Newcastle actually to watch the Super Bowl, and he said, and this is just a case of you getting it more and more, is um he nipped down the road to a store and there was a Cardinals fan there, and he saw his 49ers cap on him and said, oh, you're an NFL fan. And that's just an example of it definitely is growing in the UK. Another one of my UK contributors, a big Bears fan. A shout out to Joseph, because he's one of the first regular contributors I got, and you couldn't meet a bigger Bears fan than him.
Wow. Dan just gave you guys an idea for those of you who want to relocate where they have less guns, and you could almost open your own pub if it's not already there and pick a team, kind of like the pubs pick a beer, right? And say, hey, we are the Chiefs or the Bears, and that's really cool. Let the people know where they can find the community, hear your shows, and any last words, inspiring words you want to give them.
We're mainly active on Facebook, so it's Let's Talk Sports on Facebook. We have a very active group. We've got approaching 3,000 members on there, and we'd love to hear from you. No matter any sport you can imagine, we cover NFL, NBA, hockey. So anything you can imagine and want to talk about, please do hit us up. But we love to hear new voices in the community. And it really does make a difference when you see the numbers grow up, because it means someone's responding to your message. So please do reach out and sort of in the comments mentioned you found me from this show, because it's nice to know how they found you, and I'd love to hear your message.
Guys and ladies, no matter if you're listening on iTunes, Spotify, or our latest partner at AYV Radio in Freetown, Sierra Leone, or watching on YouTube, yes, I thank you. And if you do nothing else, I want you to share this. It will change somebody's life. Be blessed, y'all.
Are you tired of the rat race in America? Are you ready to visit the motherland to relax and rejuvenate? Are you ready to explore all that Africa has to offer? Then check out the brand new Diversified Game Academy course, Prepare for My First Trip to Africa. Are you worried about being able to afford the trip? We got you. We will show you how to travel either on a budget or as a baller. Learn how to stress the value of the USD. Did you know that 100 United States dollars is worth over 1,000 South African rand, or 10,000 Kenyan shillings, or 54,250 West African CFA? Are you worried about taking your kids? Get the game from Kellen Cash, a bona fide world traveler, having traveled to almost 20 countries, several of those in Africa. Get the game on taking your kids on their first trips. Learn how to find the best tickets, get the visas, and plan your own adventures in Africa. Don't let Eddie Murphy have all the fun. Plan your own coming to Africa trip starring you, produced by you, and featuring you. If you are ready for a life-changing experience, sign up for our course today, Diversified Game Academy. Get prepared and purchase at diversifiedgame.com.